All right, boys, we're in Miami. We're about to go interview the mayor. Before I get into it, this episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you guys like to fire on sports like me, you guys gotta try the Prize Picks app. I've tried so many different apps when it comes to firing on sports, and Prize Picks is by far the best. It's way different because instead of choosing teams, you're choosing individual players. So each player has a set projection, and you either choose more or less than that set projection. So if you're smart with sports and you know what players are gonna perform, trust me, you gotta try Prize Picks. We also got you boys on a code NELK, that gets you guys a 100% deposit bonus. So if you put in $100, use that code, it's gonna get you another $100 free. Prize Picks is also available in 70% of the United States. It's available in California, Texas, Florida. So trust me, if you like firing on sports, download the Prize Picks app, give it a try, take advantage of that code. Let's get into the pod. All right, boys, we're back with another pod episode. We're at the mayor's office right now, so we're gonna do the mayor of Miami. He's a really cool guy. I met him a few times. You saw him at the Trump. Yeah, he was there after we did the Trump podcast. He was at like the fundraiser or whatever it was. I met him at it was UFC weekend, and Dave Grutman. We had like a dinner at Gecko.
I saw that, and
like the mayor came, Dana came, like a bunch of cool people came, and that's when I first met him. He's like really cool. And I was just talking to him, and it was like, it's really cool like how on fire Miami is in like every way as like a city.
I just think that in being a mayor, you have to be like little like bipartisan.
When I noticed too, like I posted, like I mixed him in my like feed post on IG carousel, and so many Miami birds hit me up.
What, when you posted him?
Yeah.
They're like, oh,
how is that possible?
You know the mayor?
No, well, just like if you're boys with the mayor, like you're like, it's not gonna hurt like when you're out wheeling Miami girls.
What's the biggest power the mayor holds though?
Well, dude, that's what I want to ask him. I don't.
It's Mayor Francis though. Like he's like a beauty. Like he's jacked. Like he's good.
Apparently
I feel like we would pass the line in Gecko. We would pass him in the line though.
I feel like Grutman would do that though.
Do you think so or no?
I want to know, like,
you could ask him
what levels to this.
Like, do you think we would have?
You're saying you have more sauce than the mayor of Miami?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if
you just said that.
If we're at Live, we're probably gonna have a better table than him.
Oh, you think if we're out?
Yeah, I mean, is that fair?
Well, he could join us though.
I'm just saying, bro.
I don't think so. I think the mayor can walk in anywhere at any time.
Oh, definitely he can. 100%.
We'll see.
No line, nothing. Straight through the back door.
We'll see what he. We'll
it's
see
the
what
mayor,
he can do here.
bro.
I wonder if he abuses that power.
He's in charge of the city.
I lived here for a year and a half. Okay, a lot happened.
What does that mean? That doesn't mean you're in charge of the city.
I've seen a lot of shit.
Okay.
Met a lot of people.
Got it. You're definitely not in charge of the city though.
City fell off when I left, bro.
Oh, it fell off. You gonna tell him that when he pulls up?
Yeah, sure.
You should. That should be the first thing you say. Listen, I've been gone for about a year. I don't know what you're doing around here, but you should tell him that, dude. Do you even know what a mayor does, honestly speaking?
Yeah, bro.
What do they do? I'm not even trying to trip you. I'm going to ask him because I don't know myself.
I actually don't know either.
I'm going to ask him myself.
I'm sure a lot of people don't.
I'd love to tell you, but I'd actually like to hear what you think the mayor does first.
Yeah, okay. It's because you don't know the answer.
I do know.
It's fine.
I know.
Dude, I don't know the answer. I'm telling you.
He like fucking signs documents and stuff, bro.
Yeah, but exactly. Like, what are those documents?
Like he passes like a Miami bill. If Miami wants to keep the bars open till 6 a.m., he signs that.
Okay.
And approves of that.
But like, who's all agreeing to that? You know what I'm saying? Like to make.
Yeah. How much authority does the mayor? Like how much like you authority does the mayor
that's
really
what I
have?
want to
You're
know.
like the mayor of zoo culture. So
yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
so that's true. Like I own it. I can close. He could walk to any business and be like, "This bitch is closed down now." Can he do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn, that's power in Miami.
Well,
I'm sure he's got to have like a reason for it though.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm curious. I actually don't know. I really don't know.
It's pretty funny. We're going from interviewing the mayor straight to booby trap. You think he comes?
Do you think he'll come to booby trap
That
with
would
us?
be
No,
crazy.
absolutely not.
I mean, they probably pay a lot of taxes. Like,
Yeah, for sure, bro.
Do you think he would go?
Yo, you know,
I don't think so.
I'll tell you one thing I do know. The mayor of Denver owns the biggest strip club in Denver, Shotgun Willie's.
I wonder how that works.
Denver's a dump though, you know?
Yeah, I mean.
We're in Miami.
Yo. You guys are ready to go.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
You guys aren't messing around.
We're always ready, bro.
I love it. Good to see you. Sophisticated. All right.
The mayor comes in with the sauces fit
I know.
in the room.
What the heck?
Yeah, I know, man. Listen, I'm.
Well, it's a Saturday too, right?
It is
Oh, yeah.
Saturday. It's
Are
I'm 45. I'm not 105.
Are you normally suited up?
Yeah, normally.
Yeah, okay.
But it's F1 weekend, so Formula One is in town. So
Damn.
It's all good. I always unbranded, man. So I gotta get the branded. This is
I know.
the logo.
You guys are very hospitable.
Yeah, how's it going? Thank you. No problem.
The
Cuban
coffee's
coffees right away.
Really good too.
So you know about the Cuban coffee now?
Yeah.
You've heard
Our
about
security
this, right?
always, Chris always gives me some
Right.
too. It's fire.
What's that?
Dude, you're
It's taking a shot.
It's a green shot.
This is I want to talk about this.
No,
right
I mean-
away.
Magic Mind.
Yeah.
You never heard of Magic Mind?
No.
What is
I'll
that?
send it to you. Magic Mind. It's like I don't know. Help
You
you
look
think.
like
Matcha, adaptogens, nootropics, and immunity.
Yeah, you look like that kind of guy, like fully workout, gym bro. Like, do
No,
you
you
train
look
every day?
workout, man. What's
you look
that?
like the poster boy for Miami Mayor.
Well, thank you. So I'll tell you a funny story. This is actually a true story and funny story. I was doing a conference and I met Oliver Stone, the director. So apparently he had done a movie in the 80s. My dad was a mayor through Scarface or whatever. And we're talking and he's telling me how my dad was a mayor in the 80s. So he's telling me about he's telling me how whatever he knew my dad and all that stuff. And I said, look, and I was like, look, if you ever need a mayor in one of your movies, I'm game, He goes, oh no, you're too good looking. And
To be in one of his movies?
no, he was telling me that.
Okay.
Oliver Stone. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, you could be like a cartel boss or like a hitman. I was like, okay, that's weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a little crazy. Oliver Stone.
No, we thought it'd be really cool to have you on. I know we met at first time we met was at Gecko, right? I was telling the audience.
Yeah.
We had a dinner at Gecko with Dave Grutman and Dana White came through. You came
These are
through.
Groot shoes, man.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
There you
shout
go.
out Dave, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But no, you're just like a very like unique mayor and like leader and just like the way you kind of carry yourself and
Yeah.
everything. So I think it'd be cool to have you on. And just what really made me want to have you on was when me and you were talking at dinner and you were talking about all the statistics
Yeah.
about Miami and how well the city's doing.
yeah, it's
And
incredible.
I was just like, I don't know, the facts were like pretty crazy to hear.
Yeah. No, it's amazing what's happening here. It's I think what we're seeing in the world and particularly in this country is what I call quad generational disruption. Right? It's the world is changing very rapidly. It's very disruptive, and I think we're going from a highly industrial economy to an increasingly digital economy. I mean, what you guys are doing on the content side is incredible. It's incredibly different, and we want to position ourselves as a city to take advantage of that for, my children. I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old and sort of for the next generation. And so we're number one in the nation right now in Gen Z tech workers. We're number one in the nation tech job migration. We have the lowest per capita homicide rate since 1964. And this year we're like 40% below that number. And number
Since
one,
1984.
1964.
64.
Yeah. Lowest per capita. That's
Pretty
a good.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's a
And, we're number one in wage growth in the country. And I think our unemployment rate is 1.7%. So, I mean, the city is doing phenomenally well. Obviously, now we have a tremendous amount of activity in terms of events. F1 that's in town, Formula One now. Before that, we've had Milken, Aspen,
UFC
FII,
was just here.
UFC. Dana came by. They broke all
First
the
time
records.
in 20 years.
First time in 20 years. I think the first time they came, they had like a $400,000 gate.
Wow.
This year they did 12 million, which I think is, if not number one, it's one of the top gates that they've ever had in history. So, I think Miami right now is the place to be. It's literally the hottest city in America and arguably one of the hottest cities in the country.
Everyone's so proud if you live here. Like every time I come to visit here, everyone's so proud to like live here too. Like they convince you to stay. They tell you why it's such a great city. If you go back to like other cities, and we travel a lot,
Right.
you don't really like get that in every city you go to where people are really proud to like live here.
It's interesting.
It's cool.
Like, so I'm the first mayor of Miami that was actually born in Miami. So we've been in existence as a city for 127 years approximately. And that's interesting because 70% of the people that live in Miami were not born in Miami. And I think that's also interesting because it means that we, like you said, we love like bringing people in. We're very hospitable. We as a culture, we're very accepting and we are proud of being Miamians. We are proud of like what we've built here. It's amazing.
That's crazy. You're the only Miami mayor that was born in Miami.
Yeah. In 127 years.
Wow.
And first father and son. My dad was mayor from 85 to 93. My dad was, so I was a first father and son mayor and the first mayor ever born in the city. It's crazy.
That's special.
Does having like a father who had done it prior make it easier for you to be able to do it?
I think so. I mean, I think, look, if my dad wasn't the mayor, I'm not so sure that I would want to be the mayor. You know, I think a lot of people in my generation just took a pass on politics for a lot of good reasons and obvious reasons. It's kind of like it seems sometimes like a thankless task, but it's actually quite the opposite. It's very fulfilling. You get to help a tremendous amount of people. You get to build an ecosystem which impacts people's lives. I mean, yesterday I was at an event where somebody was thanking me for the way that their life turned out, that they had met me, 13 years ago, before I became a councilman, and that they attribute a lot of success in their own life to interactions that we had and to the ecosystem that we built. So when you think about those numbers that we talked about, homicides, growth, technology growth, those are people, like they're numbers, but they're people, right? Like the fact that we have less homicides means less people died in your city. It's profound. The fact that we're number one in wage growth means that everybody in Miami is making more money, right? And stuff like that. So it to me, it's a compensation that's way more than financial success.
The crime stats are really interesting to me. Can you repeat the homicide one again?
So homicide, we're in the lowest per capita since 1964, meaning on a per capita basis, on a per person basis. It's never been safer to be a Miamian since last year, 2022. Since 1964.
How does that compare to other like major cities in the U.S.?
Oh man, I think the major cities in the U.S. are struggling, man. They're struggling big time.
What do you think that is? Like, what's the difference between like the way you're running it and like the mayor of Chicago or something, who I know gets a shit ton of flack?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. I think the first thing is we never got into this defund police movement. A lot of people across America got into like defund police. We didn't get into that.
That was the stupidest thing.
It's crazy. And it's
like, it was just stupid.
Supporting police has never been political, right? Like, we have, inner cities in our city. And I've never been to an inner city neighborhood where the people there have told me, we want to see less police officers. They're always like, we want to see more. We want to have more officers. We think the wealthy neighborhoods have more officers. So you never see that. And so I think we never got into that. We support our law enforcement. They have the hardest job in America. When you consider how much they make and you compare that to the risks that they take, and when you compare that to the scrutiny that they're under, I mean, they literally work with a camera. I know you guys are used to working with a camera following you around, but it's
not all the time like them, right?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, 9 to 5, whenever they're working, they have a camera on, and everything they do, they rewind it. They're like, oh, did they do this right? So there's a tremendous amount of scrutiny.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm proudest of is, last year we only had 237 officer-related complaints. The year before that, it was 280. So we went down 15%. But what's really impressive is we have 330,000 citizen interactions. So when you compare, like if you think about any job, any business, where if your customer service was, you have 330,000 interactions and only 237 complaints, I mean, that's phenomenal. So I feel like we just don't give them enough credit. I also think the fact that we have a low unemployment rate, the fact that we were ranked, I know these things may sound silly to some, but like happiest city in America, healthiest city in America. You talk about working out.
How do you define that, happiest?
It's just their rankings that come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, it's the sun. Yeah. It's got to be the sun.
It's definitely the sun.
The sun is definitely related to it.
No, you've never seen a depressed tan guy.
Yeah.
It's like
vitamin D. But yeah, absolutely. No, I think, and health. I mean, when we talk about working out, like there's no doubt that, we do something called the Mayor's Fit Series. So I do a Mayor's Challenge. Every week I put out a workout, a limited equipment workout that we put out on social. And then we highlight gyms throughout the city. So sometimes it's CrossFit, sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's whatever. We've, supplement, whatever. We do a variety of stuff because we want people to focus on health. Listen, mental health, I think in this country is one of the biggest problems, right? And,
it's important too.
And substance abuse, right? Like the combination of those two, and they're interrelated. If you're suffering mentally, you go to the substances to like make yourself feel better, right? And I think, it's important. We don't talk about it enough in this country, and we don't dedicate it enough energy and time, and everything is about medicine. It's like, there's a problem, take medicine, as opposed to work out, as opposed to, even go out in the sun, like you were saying, like do something that's healthy that doesn't involve medicine. You know what I mean? It doesn't involve, these things.
But we're so stuck on that, like
huge.
that business cycle, really, the whole
It's what
pharmaceutical.
it is. It's a huge business cycle.
So that's the frustrating part. Is like, of course, people should know that the actual fix, not necessarily for all mental ailments, is like training, working out, and it's a sun. But we get so caught up in just trying to like fucking band-aid it instead of actually make it better.
Yeah, for kids, for example, resiliency, right? Like, you know, sometimes adversity is not a bad thing. It's how do you handle the adversity, right? And I think what happens is we don't teach our kids skills on resiliency, on how to deal with adversity, which leads to mental health issues. Obviously, you know, we love these things, but they're a challenge, you know, particularly for the next generation, for my kids.
Yeah.
If I let my son play video games literally all day long from the moment he woke up to the moment he went to bed, it would be, you know,
how old is he?
Yeah, he's 9. Yeah. So I try to put him in sports, you know what I mean, and do healthy things so that he can develop that way.
Why do you think overall we got like, just, it seems like as a whole country, right, we got so far away from like basic things that are just really good for us as people?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it has to do with you know, the pharmaceutical industry. I think it has to do with it's a profit-making business. And I also think, and I'll say this, and I'm never critical of doctors, because my father-in-law is a doctor, my 2 brother-in-laws are doctors, and I have a sister that's a doctor. But there's a tendency among doctors, and I think this is like prior generation, I think it's starting to change in this generation, which is when you have a sickness, there needs to be medicine, right? Like this, it's sickness medicine.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to, well, how are you eating? Are you sleeping enough? Are you, you know, exercising at all? You know, there's just no sort of holistic approach, in my opinion, oftentimes to the problem. It's more like, if you're feeling bad,
take a
this
pill.
is the pill that you take,
Yeah.
right? Exactly.
Why is that? Yeah, it's so weird, right?
I think humans just, I mean, technology, all this stuff, we just got so caught up in like just like fixing things as fast as possible, like a fix a pill. Like, you know, if you're like, okay, how do you lose weight? Take a pill. How do you lose this? What's the easiest way for me to do this? Because
on that note too, I think like we should talk about like the COVID thing too, because I think that was like,
I was gonna bring that up. I just want to kill it.
No, for sure. Yeah. I think that was like a big thing during COVID too. Was like, because I know Brad, you could tell a story after about your gym too, but they didn't promote any other types of how to like kind of deal with COVID and, you know, strengthen your immune system. It was all just
until 2 years only, after, right? They're like, oh, this is also really important.
Well, they also didn't explain that the comorbidity for COVID was obesity was a big comorbidity. In other words, like people who didn't take care of themselves were at higher risk of suffering like serious complications or death. Right. And I think that again goes back to the basics, right? Like if you take care of yourself, if you you do the very basics, then you have a much better chance of having better outcomes in a variety of different health settings.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. I kept my gym open during the whole pandemic, and I was like, you didn't understand. The whole thing was like, we're trying to like fix a problem that is everyone's already kind of having regardless.
In LA.
I'm in LA. I'm in California.
Cool. I was just
so we're trying to fix this like problem with like just the thing that we at the same time didn't even know was going to work or not yet, where it's like the base problem is just like being healthier.
Yeah.
And obviously people died. You can't take that away from what happened, but I just find it so interesting, like the stats of things. And then people are so afraid of like the dying at like this tiny percent. And then like all these other things that are killing them anyways, like high blood pressure, heart disease, that people don't worry about or think about because it's not some sort of televised pandemic thing.
Yeah, I have an interesting gym COVID story. So I was the first person in Miami to test positive for COVID, which is crazy.
That's a fact?
That's a fact. Or one or two, first or second one.
It's kind of dope.
It's a crazy story. So the president of Brazil comes to Miami, and we receive him, right?
You gave it to the president of Brazil too?
No.
He gave it to you.
They gave it to me. He didn't give it to me. Someone on his staff gave it to me.
Come on, man.
So
it's always the fucking Brazilians, man.
Wow.
So he comes to Miami. Actually, he had gone to Mar-a-Lago that weekend. He comes to Miami on Monday. I'm with his delegation Monday and Tuesday. And the following Thursday, there's a report that his press secretary has COVID. So I get a call and they're like, hey, we want you to take a test and we want you to quarantine. And I'm like, meanwhile, nobody had gotten COVID in Miami. So it was like, why do I need to quarantine for? Like, I feel fine. I feel 100%. And they're like, yeah, no, you're going to have to quarantine for 14 days. And like, imagine like 14 days, you're the mayor. You're like, what do you mean 14 days?
And no one's done it yet.
Yeah, and nobody's gotten it. So I'm like, what do you mean 14 days? Just in case. So they're like, take a test. I was like, okay, I'll take the test. No problem. So I take the test and I get a call the next morning. Oh, and by the way, it turns out that I was in a picture with the guy. So, there's no denying
They got you.
that I was around the guy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I was like, okay, so sure, I was around the guy. I'll take it. So the next day they call me in the morning. He's like, yeah, you're positive. And I was like, are you sure? And I swear to you, the guy goes to me, I'm 98% sure. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You need to be 100% sure because this is like a big deal. And this is going to I interact with thousands of people. Like this was before social distancing or any of that stuff. I'm like, this is going to cause a serious problem. And the guy, he really literally said, I'm 100% sure. I'm like, oh God. So I had to, obviously I had to say it. And, but the gym part about it is everybody in my, so I
Wait, what was the response when you announced it?
Oh no, people went like, it was crazy. And
how did you announce it?
I think I announced it by on virtually. Yeah. And, it was crazy. So I was in quarantine for, remember this is literally at the beginning. This was March 12th of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like scary. That's when people were like, where I lived, I was in LA. People were like, running to grocery stores, huge lines, like buying up the whole store. I think I was the first politician in America. I was also like the fourth person to donate plasma in the country. And it was crazy. It was it was pretty bonkers. But the gym part about it was I felt bad because everybody in my gym freaked out. They had to close the gym. They eventually closed all the gyms, but they initially had to close that gym. And then from that point forward, I just worked out at home because I
straight up kept my gym open. Dude,
I feel bad, man. I feel bad. Like I feel like, I felt bad for them.
When it was during COVID, like you say the gyms closed, like whose decision was that? Like, did you have any authority in like what stayed open or like what kind of authority did you have during COVID?
I think people forget, they have kind of like selective memory about what happened. Like you said, at that moment, everybody was freaked out.
Oh yeah.
So the general recommendation was shut everything down. I think everybody did that from the governor to the county mayor to us. And there was a period of time where everything was shut down.
At the beginning, it was more about the hospitals were overcrowded.
The hospitals
That's
were
why
overcrowded.
we were social distancing for a bit,
the hospitals were overcrowded. You saw what was happening in New York. We saw what was happening in Italy. In Italy, people were dying like left and right.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a run on the hospitals. And I would say throughout the process, that was one of the biggest concerns that we had, right? Was our hospital system.
Mm-hmm.
Can they manage? And we were constantly looking at that on a regular basis. Yeah, that was like the number one consideration.
So what type of how was handling COVID in general? Like that was like probably one of the craziest things of the century.
It was tough because I don't feel like we had that much support. So we had to basically invent our own epidemiologist. Not invent the epidemiologist. Obviously, we brought people from the university system, but we had to invent kind of like our own team to deal with it. And then I always felt like I was the only person in the room that was kind of articulating the economic side of it, right? Because like you're saying, you have to close down your gym. There's an economic side, which is, there's a risk, but you have to balance that risk with the economic impact, right? Of shutting down the entire universe, right? In a given moment. So I think that was a mistake that there wasn't enough economists in the room that are saying hey, look, this disease has this much morbidity, but at the same time, it has this much of an impact on the economy, right? So I think Miami and Florida were relatively open compared to everybody else.
Miami, for sure. I was going to say, I mean, we would come here and it was kind of almost not normal, but it was compared to LA or other cities. It was
totally. And I think it benefited us because I think, at the end, we're number one in pandemic recovery. So when you consider the stats again, economic, we're number one in pandemic recovery. And I think part of the reason why is because people decided at that moment, it was a watershed moment because people decided at that moment, wait a second, maybe I don't have to be in New York or in California to do certain things. Like for example, if you're in finance, maybe you don't have to be in New York to do finance. Or if you're in venture, maybe you don't have to be in California to do venture. And I remember Ken Griffin specifically coming to Palm Beach and basically taking over the Four Seasons in Palm Beach. And he's a huge market maker.
What does he do?
He runs Citadel.
Okay.
Massive company.
Yeah.
And he's arguably one of the biggest market makers in terms of buying and selling of stocks. And so when he left, I think people for the first time realized that you didn't have to be physically somewhere to be successful. Like New York could literally overnight move to Miami, or so could Silicon Valley, And right around that same time, somebody put out a tweet on December 4th that said, what if we move Silicon Valley to Miami? And I responded, how can I help? And that was like,
well, that was a big shift that whole
super
time.
viral.
I feel like
super viral.
Would you say Miami, like COVID kind of like made Miami in a way? Like
it was a big part of it because the remote work phenomenon, people leaving. And then I have something I call the FlyMo effect, which is flywheel plus FOMO combined, FlyMo, right? Like the FlyMo effect of people just sort of saying, hey, wait a second, there's something special going on here.
I got to be here too,
this place that we've always loved to come visit and have a good time at is now a place where you could do serious work. And so now we moved in about 2 years, and this is a rough estimate, about 3 trillion in assets under managed companies to Miami. It's about 130 plus companies, 9 billion in wages.
So I have a question on that, like migration of people to a different state or city. Like I would talk about opening gyms in different places, and I'm from California, so I talked about opening a gym in Texas, and I would always get comments where people would be like, "Don't California my Texas," which is like, which is something I would never do. Obviously, I was going to Texas because I wanted to see a little bit different scenery. So my question to you is, can enough people move from like a place like, let's say, California and like change the dynamics of that city as far as like what's happening or what's, you know what I'm saying?
Great question. So I'll give you an interesting story from my background, and I'll tell you how it all played out in Miami.
Yeah.
So my parents came from Cuba, right? My dad came at 12 and my mom at 7, fleeing communism, right? This idea that like, just give me all your property, give me all your business, don't worry, we'll make everybody equal. It never works.
Yeah.
Right? It made everybody equal, right? Equally poor and equally miserable, right? So my view of it is, if you're getting up and leaving and you're bringing your family, which is like a huge decision in your life, you're not going to some place to redo what you left, right? So I people would always say that, oh, be careful, mayor, you're inviting all these people from all these blue states, right?
Yeah.
And I said, trust me, the people that are coming here are not coming here. Trust me. They're not making, so I'll tell you the facts. So in 2016, the presidential election, President Trump lost Miami-Dade County to Hillary Clinton by 30 points. Okay. This is in 16. I got elected in 17. Okay.
30%?
He lost by 30%, right? He lost by 30 points. I got elected in 17. In 2018, DeSantis loses Dade County by 20 points, 10 points better, right? In 20, former President Trump loses to Biden by 8 points, right?
Yeah.
In 22, Marco and DeSantis win Dade County by 10 points. So it's a 40-point swing, which is huge in politics. Like, you have no idea how big that is.
So even DeSantis, 30% difference, just him?
Well, yeah, but it's just the Republicans, right?
Yeah.
So basically, Republicans went from negative 30 to plus 10 in 6 years. So that migration is people that were Republican or people that became Republican coming to Miami saying, we want these policies. We have the lowest tax rate in history. We keep people safe. We talked about the crime numbers. And then we focus on the economy. We focus on innovation. Like, we want to make sure that our economy fits the moment and creates the maximum amount of prosperity for the maximum amount of people.
How do you see that playing out in like the next election, 2024? Do you think that streak continues in Miami-Dade?
I do think, I don't see it reversing. You know what I mean? I think unless something changes, right? And I don't see anything changing. I think, look, we've built a great city. I think, look, people often ask me, what's the formula for success, which I just sort of articulated, right? But the real formula for success is courage, right? Because you have to have courage to implement the policies that create that kind of prosperity. And you have to fight a narrative, which is that socialist narrative, right? Which is, when things are not going well for somebody, just take it from someone else and give it to them. I always remember right? I mean, that's what it is, right? And so like, I always remember like this whole example that someone told me when I was a kid. It was like, let's say you're in class and you study hard, right? And at the end of the year, you got great grades. You get it. Somebody's going to get an A, someone's going to get a C, and someone's going to get an F, right? And let's say that the teacher at the end of the year says, everyone who got an A, who worked hard, guess what? You're going to get a C. And everybody who didn't do anything, guess what? They're going to get a C. What do you think everybody's going to do? The people who work hard are either going to leave or they're not going to work hard anymore. And the people that don't do anything, they're like, I'm not going to do anything. Even the people that got C's are like, I'm not going to do anything either because everybody's getting the same thing that I am. So the problem with communism,
you're conditioning people to not want to work.
The problem with communism is it ends up being a huge disincentive for production. And that's what look, our country's not perfect, but we're the best country on the planet. And, you know, Winston Churchill once said, democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others, meaning we haven't found a better one. And it's hard. Democracy's hard because there's a lot of division right now in the country.
So much.
And I think, frankly, our enemies are the ones that are benefiting. I think if you're China, if you're Russia, if you're North Korea, if you're, any of these countries, Iran that hates us, the best thing that we can do for them is to be divided, right? Because it means we're half as strong.
We were just talking about that in the car. We're like,
yeah,
we kind of said like the U.S. society is like kind of like slowly crumbling in front of everyone's eyes.
Yeah.
And like some people see it and some people don't. Like we're just at an all-time
I have a couple theories on that.
Divisive time right now.
Yeah, I have a couple of theories on that. One is we spend 80% of the time arguing about the 20% of the things that we don't agree on, right? Instead of 80% of the time focusing on the 80% of the stuff that we do agree on, right? And like, how do we create prosperity? How do we make life better for people? So I think that's part of it. I think I do believe, and I'm not like a huge conspiracy theorist, but I do believe that our enemies abroad are using our social channels to divide us.
I think that's the only logical answer, right?
It's
Is
huge.
that like foreign entities must have some sort of influence over our media?
Listen, the TikTok thing, it's very controversial, but the sophistication in AI to try to use our preferences, everything that we do against us, it's real. I mean, I'm telling you, that part, it's not conspiracy theory, right? It's marketing. Right? If you think about it, it's not even like, and marketing is about influence, right? Like if you can predict what somebody wants to buy, you know, this is a local brand, a local barbershop that came up with this God is good concept, right? Like if you can predict what people want to buy, you can put it in front of them, right? And then they'll buy it, right? So they're making the choice, but you're serving them based on a ton of different data points that they're looking at, right? Because of what you've looked at before, because of what you're doing. So it's extremely sophisticated. And they think that our weakness is that they can feed us information and we're just going to buy it, right? And frankly, that's what we've been doing. So we've got to kind of toughen up a little bit. We've got to kind of get smarter.
But why do you think that would relate to like certain, you know, political things or things that are like issues in the world? What would that relate to? Like as far as the division on social media and how the algorithms work? And you think it's like, because like, how do you make some division of like some negative topic, right, sell someone something?
Well, I think, I don't know the sort of intricacies of how the technology works specifically, but I do know that, like, I mean, if you think about, for example, just products, right? Like you're talking about, or you search something and then all of a sudden for 14 days, you know, that thing that you search for, you're getting different sort of, on Instagram, you get it all the time.
Not even search, like say out loud to your friend and your phone.
Or like let's say, for example, you see some tennies that you like or whatever, a shirt that you like, and it's it's a collared shirt or whatever. For the next 2 weeks, you get collared shirt from different manufacturers that are that are feeding you that stuff. And maybe you like one and you buy it, right? So it's not that complicated, but it's based on your own clicking, right? What you click on.
Well, I know that's definitely happening. I was just talking about, because I thought you were trying to relate it to the division that we all have.
Yes. So the way I would relate it to that is, there's a variety of issues that are divisive.
Yeah.
Right. Culture issues, for example. These cultural issues are extremely divisive, right? People are very fired up about them. But
the social issues.
Social issues. But do they help people find a job? Do they make America better or worse? Right. Like, I'm not saying that they're inappropriate to talk about, but do they have to be everything that we talk about? Do they dominate every single conversation? Right. And I think if you're an enemy of the country and you're trying to divide us, you're going to constantly feed those kinds of issues that are divisive.
I see what you're saying.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We were saying one of the hottest topics, and you don't got to speak too much on it if you don't want to, but we're even like the transgender topic. It's like, I thought it represents like 1% of maybe the population.
That's a great
but
somehow
example. It's like
it's
85%
That's a
of
great
the
example.
conversation,
That's
right?
a perfect
Like everything
example.
you see is like, we're debating about that. We're talking about it. We're talking about it right now.
That's a perfect example. And I think there's got to be an easier way to solve that issue without it becoming so divisive, right? Like in competitions, it's pretty clear that someone who is a man or
we were just talking about
shouldn't
this,
necessarily be competing against women, right? That's
sports things to me. It's just so obvious.
That should be pretty
just
simple,
crazy.
right? Or like, for example, not teaching kids sexuality at a very young age, right? Like, or letting the parents like do that. Those are pretty basic things. That it's the same thing as the defund police, right? Like this never used to be controversial. And now all of a sudden it's controversial. It makes no sense.
Yeah, that's
scary, bro.
I don't get it because it's like we talk about the kids thing. It's like someone already so impressionable of anything. Like,
said, I'm a parent. I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. I don't want anybody talking to my kid about, like, in school about sexuality.
Is that like happening now?
I presume it's happening at some level, which is why this is all being discussed. But I never thought it was such a huge problem until it became part of the everyday conversation, right? And it's like, and then it seems like the media will cherry pick, oh, there's a school here or a school there. And it makes, like you said, like an isolated incident look like it's a huge issue, right? Like I remember one year we had a series of like shark attacks, right? And if shark attack is a rare occurrence, right? Thankfully.
Yeah.
But if it's a slow news day and there's a shark attack in Australia, then there's a shark attack in the Gulf of coast of Florida, then there's a shark attack, it can dominate the news cycle in the absence of other news, right? And then it's like, oh my God, you can't go in the water because you're going to get attacked by a shark. No, you're not going to get attacked by a shark, right? Like it's like getting hit by lightning. But it, then a hurricane comes and no one's talking about the shark attack. Everyone's talking about the hurricane or some other major event.
Media is just about clicks, right?
Yeah.
Even for this podcast, we're going to try to, get as much views as possible. So like in a way, I kind of like understand what they're doing, but it just sucks, right? Like journalism in general, it's all about clicks.
But I'll tell you this. Let me tell you why I think you're very different. Number one, long form is huge. Like I think I'm big into long form. Like if you look at your podcast, Rogan's, all these big podcasts, people think that people only want to digest 30-second increments or 2-minute. I disagree with that. I think if you're giving people good content, they're into that, right? So I actually think you're kind of anti-click in a way because click is just how do I get somebody's attention, and certainly there's a piece of that because you don't want to be boring, but you're getting good people. You're talking about really important topics, right? They're exciting people that people want to hear from. That's really what generates the clicks and what generates the people, sticking around and listening.
For sure.
I think it also just depends on the demographic of it. Because, like, for example, this podcast, like certain things will get cut up or clicked into like TikTok, and it'll get millions and millions of views.
Yeah,
because like they're waiting for that little click moment.
Sure.
But I think
we do that too. We have a podcast, and we do content on an everyday basis. So I think I'm rare, and I'm probably the only mayor in America that has a podcast. Maybe the only public official. I don't know how many public officials have podcasts. And I've had great people on my podcast, from David Beckham to Conor McGregor to technologists.
You have McGregor on?
Yeah, I had McGregor.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was really good.
What's the pod called?
Cafecito Tech Talk. So it's kind of like a play on coffee, Cuban coffee, and then tech, and then Miami. Like so, we try to integrate everything. Kind of ties back to Miami. I had Magic Johnson. Had some really great, amazing guests. Yeah. So some cool.
What made you start that?
Understanding that you have to tell your story. Like I realized in this moment when we did this, when we had this "How can I help" moment, which went viral. I did two things. One, I did some guerrilla marketing things. Like one thing I did was we put a billboard outside of Google in San Francisco with a fictitious tweet that said, "Thinking of moving to Miami? DM me." And I got thousands of DMs.
Wow.
So I realized I can't do this by myself. So we actually created an office called Venture Miami to sort of onboard all these companies that were coming to Miami that wanted to come. Like I said, 130 plus companies, 9,000 jobs. By the way, average job, over $100,000. And so that was part of it. And the other one is I realized, if you don't tell your story, someone else is going to tell it, and you're not going to like their version of it, right? And I think what's cool about this moment, when you're talking about clicks and the radical differences of the moment, is that you can go direct to consumer. And that for a public official is incredible. You could, former president had 80, 90 million Twitter followers at one point, going direct to consumer, and he comes on your podcast. He's smart. He knows what the what the viewership is, right? Going direct to consumer with no filter. You know what I mean? Before, when my dad was mayor, you had to go to the press, the media, you had to answer, and then they filter it their way and they put it out their way to serve their purposes. If they don't like you, you're done. They used to say, there was an old saying, you don't pick fights with people who buy ink by the barrels, right? And so that's all from like the media is so powerful that you don't want to pick a fight with them because they're going to destroy you. And I think the beauty of this moment is people can see who you are, like unvarnished.
Yeah.
Right? Like unfiltered. And they may like you, they may not like you and whatever, but at least you don't have a filter of somebody trying to, make you into something that you're not.
What's going on is Snoop, and I'm here to announce that the new Happy Dad and Death Row Records flavor is great. And now, it's officially in stores. I chose the flavor, and the team at Happy Dad, they spent months perfecting it. And it's my new favorite drink. If you're chilling at home or turning up at the club, make sure you do it right with the Happy Dad and Death Row Grape. Call your local liquor stores and see who has it. It's everywhere now. You can also order it on GoPuff app, Instacart, and Drizzly in some areas. You gotta be 21 and over and drink responsibly. And also, look out for the official Death Row and Happy Dad merch collaboration. Please believe it when I tell you this.
Do you think it could be somewhat like a double-edged sword? Because like at the same time, like obviously I do think it's very important to like spread out like the media like shifting and changing of what someone's saying for their own narrative.
Yeah.
But then now you go to like just a single person, like you, for example, or anyone else doing an interview. Do you think then though that person's agenda is like outweighing like the overall good of like a, like you being a mayor, you being like, oh, I want all these things for myself. And I'm not saying that what you're doing, but some people will take those moments for themselves. And it's which one's better?
Look, I think every iteration has positives and negatives.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
I think one positive is direct to consumer, unfiltered.
Yeah.
People get to know who you are. You get to shape your own narrative. I think the negative is if you don't use it responsibly, you can essentially people get away with lying, right? Because there's very little fact checking. It's a very fast news cycle. So whatever you say is forgotten tomorrow. And that's a reality. So I think we all have a responsibility to be responsible and moral and ethical on it. But I think, I think one of the biggest things coming into our generation is going to be the search for truth. How do you find truth? Where do you find truth? How do you know it's true?
But that's such a crazy thing because now everything's getting so like untrue with the AI shit. There's so many different ways to with manipulate what's happening.
It's crazy. The deep fakes, now you don't know anything. Like if I say something, is it really me?
I know. It's like, can you even like, when can you not use like video proof in like court and shit anymore? Like,
I don't know how. I really don't know. I really don't know how they're gonna solve for that. I really don't, because it's really crazy. I mean, like literally,
you could like frame someone. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Like
anything you say, anything you hear, anything you see, because it's not just
you can't believe it anymore now.
It's also face.
Yeah.
Like it's.
But really, so this is what's crazy. We're talking about truth, going towards truth, but it seems like it's like I don't want to say they are ahead of us, but it's like they knew that was going there, and now it's like this more distortion.
So I'm wondering, and one of the things we've been very much into is we are into like next generation technology here in Miami, like AI, quantum, and crypto. I'm a big crypto guy. I get paid in Bitcoin. I'm the only mayor in the country probably that gets paid in Bitcoin.
Your full salary?
My full mayoral salary, yeah.
Wow.
And I'm about to, I'm probably announce it here. Why not? I'm about to do something really radical, which is I'm gonna buy a investment property and I'm gonna get it lent. I'm gonna have the Bitcoin that I've been accumulating in my salary is gonna be the security for the loan. So, one of the big issues with Bitcoin is people say, oh, the utility of Bitcoin, right? Can it be used?
Yeah.
So I'm going to borrow money against my Bitcoin account to buy a property. So I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be first of its kind.
You're renting it out? Or
yeah, I'll probably rent it out. Yeah, it'll be a rental property for income.
Funny, Steiny, we're looking for a rental property too, no? Because we're thinking of actually moving maybe our content operation here.
Yes. See, we're doing business, baby.
Man, I want to open a gym out here. Just no
spaces.
There's no spaces. There's no parking.
We'll help you out. Venture Miami will help you out.
I'm not kidding.
I'm serious. Venture Miami will help you out for sure. But we have a lot of gyms. Obviously, we
need the best real estate plug from
bro.
Francis.
I got you, bro. I got you. 100%. Zero commission. It's all good. I do it every day. It's crazy. I'm like the world's least paid real estate broker in Miami here.
We saw you after the Trump podcast at that. Was it like a fundraiser or was it like just a dinner or something?
It was like a dinner in Nashville. Let me tell you, Nashville's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's the bachelorette capital of the world or something like that. And I was there with my wife and it's just, dude, the place is crazy. And I was like, is it like this every weekend? Apparently it's like that every weekend.
I know.
And we're staying at a hotel and we couldn't sleep because of the noise. And they actually gave us a baby maker, like a baby noise maker, and we still couldn't sleep. It was crazy. I'm like, listen, in Miami, we party. You know, we're a party city. We're known as a party city. It's part of our ethic, right? It's like part of who we are, our DNA. But we keep the noise inside. And the beauty of that is we actually party harder, longer, I suppose, because we have 24-hour entertainment districts as opposed to last call at 2 or 3 a.m. But I just tell my guys, listen, man, don't kill the goose that laid the golden egg, right?
Yeah,
keep it inside.
So I haven't said a word yet, but
no, it's good.
Sorry, I've been listening. I've been learning from you.
Mystified.
He just came from space. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Is that what happened?
No,
No.
something similar.
Okay.
Unfortunately, why is that a thing though here, where places are open 24 hours?
So
that's not like anywhere else.
Yeah. So I think it was, first of all, like I said, you know, Miami was always known, part of our DNA. Like we have the Winter Music Conference, we have Ultra.
Yeah.
We started Ultra, right? We've had Ultra for 20 plus years, right? The badass electronic music conference. So it's part of who we are. I think back in the mid sort of 2000 to 2010 range, they wanted to reinvigorate a part of downtown that was kind of like, just not very nice. And so they created a space, which they called an entertainment district. And they said, look, 24-hour liquor license, just to get investment in the air. And it worked. And there's multiple establishments like that. And what's interesting is, you know, I'm not the mayor of Miami Beach. A lot of people mistaken because they see all the stuff that happens during spring break. That's not me. That's Miami Beach is different.
Really?
Yeah, it's a different city.
Spring break is fucking crazy.
It's crazy. So it has its own mayor. But what happens is, what's interesting is, you know, while spring break was crazy, right?
Yeah.
We had Ultra, 150,000 people, no issues, no incidents.
Yeah, well, I don't understand that. There's like, it seems like for how crazy it is here, everything runs pretty smoothly.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons. One is we know how to do it, right? Like we do G7 fencing, like there's magnetometers, wands to make sure that nobody's bringing weapons or anything like that. So we want people to have a good time. We just don't want them to get hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second piece is it goes to the pro law enforcement thing, which is we want you to have a good time, but there's a line that you can't cross. You can't hurt somebody. You can't destroy property. If you do that, we're going to hold you accountable. And I think that's what makes us different. And so people know you can have fun in Miami, in Wynwood, you can have fun in the entertainment district, but just have fun.
You think the crime rate would be higher with the 24-hour like partying?
No issues. No issues.
What does Miami need to improve on?
I think every city in America, number one, needs to become more affordable, right? Mm-hmm. I think cities in America are becoming very unaffordable. And I think, frankly, I blame the federal government in the sense that you've had massive amount of spending, right? Deficit spending. You know, we all have to live within our budgets. The federal government just decides we don't have to do that. And what happens is 15 to 20% increases in rental cost across America. This is not a Miami problem. This is a Denver, you know, this is a Nashville, this is a Austin, New York, San Francisco problem, right? So that's the first problem. And then, of course, everybody wants to come here. So you layer on top of the 15 to 20%, you layer another 10, 15% in hyper demand because now everybody from New York, Chicago, and California wants to come here in addition to South America. So that creates, but we're building a lot. I mean, so that's one thing. We're building 30 to 40,000 residential units in the next 2 years. And then, obviously water, hurricanes, we do get hurricanes. So we're constantly trying to increase our infrastructure to deal with the water flow. Traffic, every major city in America has traffic issues. So we're trying to be disruptive there and look at urban air mobility stuff and the Boring Company, which is Elon's underground tunneling company.
Urban air mobility, what's that?
Yeah, so urban air mobility is probably like the Jetsons, like the next.
Yeah, I was like
the next iteration. I know, I just kind of like glanced over it.
Yeah,
right?
what?
So urban air mobility is basically, so we have decentralized parking garages, throughout the city. So eventually you'll have vehicles and Hyundai is a $350 billion annual revenue company is really focusing on this, which will land kind of like helicopter looking things and will take you around the city yeah.
Well, like a flying car?
Yeah, pretty much.
How far out? That's not anytime soon.
Well,
that was supposed to happen like 10 years ago.
Yeah, look,
right?
it's like
talking about that
like in Back to the Future, they had like flying cars.
It's funny. Like disruption is interesting. You never really know when it's gonna take hold, right? Like electric vehicles are now, whatever. From there, you're gonna go to autonomous vehicles, right? Like you're seeing more automation.
Yeah.
So when will a fully autonomous vehicle? When will we all be on just fully autonomous vehicles, where we're just sitting in the car and the vehicle is doing it?
Not
who knows?
A while, I don't think.
Who knows when it? Who knows when it'll be?
What do you think? This is kind of a random question, but what do you think about like the importance? Like in Miami, the culture to like compete with who has more money, who has the nicest car. Like it seems so important here.
You know, I mean, look,
Yeah.
look.
Is that like a personal question or?
No. I think. Look, we're a city that we have that reputation, but like I think cities like LA have that same reputation, right? And I think part of our focus on business and doing stuff, right, as opposed to just being more on the sort of showy side, I think is part of why we're focusing on that, right? We want to be just more than a place that you can have fun in, that's a place where you can retire in, because there's also a big retirement community. We want to be a place where you can do serious business, and I think we're changing that reputation as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's there.
But you're aware
you got
of
a
that.
mix of like, this is a rare city where you have a mix of like a lot of new money and old money.
Yeah,
a lot of young people like crypto is so big here. I noticed in Miami.
We were number one in the nation for blockchain investments. We had $800 million of companies funded. We went up 2,000%. And I think that was kind of intentional, right? That's why I put Satoshi's white paper on our website. We allowed for employees to get paid in Bitcoin. I'm obviously getting paid in Bitcoin. So yeah, we wanted to go all in on that not because we believe in a particular company per se, or a particular iteration of the technology, but because we wanted to send a signal. So you have to understand, at that moment, New York had kicked out Amazon after winning the HQ2 prize, right? The second headquarter prize. Yeah. And California said, F Elon Musk. And he replied, message received, I'm out of here. And he went to Austin, right? So that was the context of my tweet of how can I help, right? Like, which is the opposite. It was like, I want people in my city. I want people like you guys in my city. I want people who want to build. Yeah. I want people who want to fund companies. Because how does a company grow? Either you borrow money to grow or someone invests in you, right? So, I mean, that's how you get scale. And I think Miami was always a very entrepreneurial city. We had, very immigrant city, intensive city. People work hard and want to do well for themselves, but we never really had that kind of scale.
Yeah.
And I think for the first time.
What do you think like the Cuban culture has a big effect on that? The hardworking like nature here?
Yeah, look, my parents came at 12 and 7. It's a great story. My dad is the 9th of 14 kids. Came to this country with nothing. They emigrated to Washington, D.C. My grandfather was a professor of engineering. And my dad got a full scholarship to high school, a presidential scholarship to college, graduated summa, mechanical engineering, got 2 graduate degrees from Harvard, an MPP JD. He's written like 9 books, speaks 5 languages, and was the first Cuban mayor of Miami. He's what I would consider an IQ genius.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good resume.
Yeah, my mom is like the life of the party. She's the EQ genius. Like, she comes into the room, she makes everybody smile. She hugs everybody. By the time it's all done, you may not remember anybody, but you're going to remember my mom.
What's your accolades for school?
I was kind of a flunky, to be honest with you.
Was dad pissed about that or not?
Not really. He was. My dad's pretty cool. I mean, he's pretty like bohemian about it.
Yeah.
But I went to FIU. I went to a local school. I wasn't like someone who like really put in the effort early on when I was younger. And I kind of got it together later on in life. And then went to University of Florida Law School. It's a great law school now. It's a top 20 law school in the country. But yeah, man, I got my act together a little later. I was like, so there's hope, guys. You don't
Dave
have to
Grumman
be
went to FIU too, yeah?
Did he?
Right?
He taught there. I don't know if he went.
Didn't Dave Grumman go to FIU?
Dave teaches at FIU. I don't know. I don't know if he went to FIU.
I don't know if he went.
No, Dave's a great Miami story too. Like, Dave was in the nightclub business, and he then creates a club called Live, which is still there and it's amazing. And then he started getting into restaurants. And I think his first restaurant, if I'm not mistaken, was Komodo.
Komodo, yeah.
And then now he's got, restaurants all over the world. I mean, it's incredible what he's done. And he's just a force of nature.
Komodo just opened up in Dallas.
We went that's there. Right. Yeah, the Dallas one. I think he's got some stuff in the Middle East, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got Komodo, he's got Swan. I hope I don't forget one. He's got Gecko in Miami proper. Steak. He's got Poppy is in the beach.
He's got Live too. Live.
Strawberry Moon.
He's got Live. He's got Strawberry Moon. Yeah. The hotel. So he went into hotels with Pharrell, which was a big deal.
Is that something important for you to like pop into the hot spots?
I try to support.
Yeah. What are you allowed to do? Because as the mayor, you're in the spotlight, but clearly you're a different kind of mayor. And like you said, Miami, in the DNA, it is the party. So like, are you allowed to pop up to
you're
Live?
Going out.
Or like,
if you have a tan like that, you're going out.
100%. Yeah. I was
like, your fit is insane.
What is the rules?
I feel embarrassed right now.
So first of all, I've been married for 16 years, so I have to be very careful how I answer this question. No,
yeah.
Okay. I take my wife with me to a lot of places. Look, I try to support my friends, and I try to support Miami business owners.
That's a good card
Right?
to play. Supporting the friends.
Yeah, I do. I support
Save
the
that
friends.
one.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
so it's so definitely there's a piece of that. You also understand that you live in a world of this.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be conscientious of that and obviously not do something that's going to embarrass yourself, your family, or your city.
Yeah.
So that's always something that I'm mindful of. But yeah, the days of me, you know, partying till late are probably over. But I'll pop in, say hi, you know, drink a couple Perriers and then leave.
Kind of
Yeah.
going off what he was saying, like, what are some of like maybe the unknown perks of being the mayor?
Unknown perks. Well, I have a security detail. I haven't driven a car in a couple of years. And it's helpful to me because I can work while I'm in the car. And obviously I don't have to worry about some of the logistics surrounding,
Yeah.
you know, going in to and from. So some people would consider that a perk. You know, I travel a lot. I'm also now, and I didn't say this, but I'm also the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So I'm president of all the mayors in the country. So that's part of the reason why I'm traveling.
That's a flex.
Yeah, I'm traveling
Wait,
a lot.
you're president of all the mayors in
Yeah.
the country?
So there's an
Like
organization
you're the
called,
mayor of all the mayors.
pretty much. So
Oh,
there's,
that's
So that's a
dope.
huge
Wow.
flex.
yeah. So there's an organization called the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which is basically it's
Do
all.
all the mayors like support that? Or does like the Chicago mayor like not show up to that?
No, they
Right.
show up. They all show up. So it's about 500 mayors of population over 30,000 are all the members, and I'm the president of the organization. So
That's
until June,
sauce.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Are you going to the Heat game tonight?
No, I'm not going to.
What do you think about the people that say that like Heat fans are fair weather fans?
Well, I'll tell you, talk about perks and I got heat, no pun intended, because the last time I went to a Heat game, I stood in the front row. I was in the front row. Somebody invited me, and the Herald, the newspaper, gave me a hard time. They were like, "Why is the mayor sitting in $10,000 tickets?" You know.
Well,
So you know,
why wouldn't you though?
I have no idea.
How do you like take that type of criticism? Like, because you're unorthodox, so like you get those.
Dude, you know, I've learned. I mean, look, you'll appreciate this from working out. You see, these are calluses from working out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
camera, calluses.
Just so you see too.
There you go. Oh, there you
That was
go.
it. I didn't see any on
No,
that
I
one.
see those. I
Oh,
see
you
those.
saw it on
But
it?
maybe that's from
Do
something
we have a
else.
magnifying glass?
That
in
might
the
be from
back?
something else.
I
But
have three.
Yeah,
mine
definitely
are
from
from
something
working
else.
out.
I have three.
Okay, cool.
Right.
And so
Are you natural?
yeah,
like
of
natty?
course. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
of course.
Us
So
three.
you too?
Yeah.
Oh,
What
awesome.
about you?
I'm natty.
Oh, okay.
We
Okay,
knew
go
that
ahead.
was happening.
Super natty. So anyways, so you have these calluses from working out. So listen, you have to develop emotional calluses when you're in politics, right? Like you can't let every criticism, everything upset you. And look, you realize that there's a risk. If you go to a Heat game and sit in the front row, there's a chance that the newspaper is going to give you a hard time about it, right? You have to accept that risk and juxtapose it against, you know, enjoying your life and also like representing your city. Like I think the mayor should be at a playoff game or at a, you know, I think it was a conference finals game. And by the way, it was the only home game that we won, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, you
but-
can't pass the
Yeah.
court side to that. You just
But
can't.
it's like, what was their narrative? You shouldn't be in those seats.
Yeah.
'cause it's
Yeah,
expensive?
they're expensive seats. So
But
by the
again,
way,
it just gets clicks.
no, and I
right?
have to disclose it. So I have to disclose it's a $10,000 seat or whatever, and I have to disclose it and all that. And I do, you know. So this weekend there's an article out right now, literally, about, you know, am I going to gonna go to another Heat game? Am I gonna go to Am I gonna go to anything related to Formula One? Yeah, of course I'm gonna go to Formula One. It's in Miami.
So it's like,
you know?
why wouldn't you?
Do these
Of course.
do like athletes or anybody ever ask you for like personal favors or anything like that?
Well, I mean, as mayor, you get calls all the time about a variety of different things. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just athletes and entertainers.
No,
it's-
but I just mean like, you know what I mean? Like
McGregor
players-
had
He
to ask
wants
for
you
a
to
get out
name-
of jail free
yeah,
card or
like
something.
do you
for
have
sure.
the authority to
No,
do
I'll
anything?
tell you the funny McGregor story. This is a true story too. He came in on a Friday. We did the podcast. He left, and his people were like, you know, he's a little disappointed. And I'm like,
What year is this? Sorry to
no,
interrupt.
this was a couple months ago.
Okay.
right? It was a
Oh,
few
what
months
the
ago,
heck?
right? 6 months
Okay,
ago.
okay.
So his people were like, oh, he's a little disappointed because he didn't get the key to the city. And I was like,
Whoa.
okay, well, if he comes back on Monday, I'll give him the key to the city. So I'm thinking this guy probably got on his plane and took off, right? Like all these famous people, they're always jet setting around the world or whatever. The guy showed up on Monday at 9 a.m.
You give me my
Okay.
fucking key.
No, wait, it gets better.
Yo!
No, it gets better. So
funny.
we had something going on at the time. So those media, so we didn't want to like expose him to that. So we brought him in through the side and there's a spiral staircase. Now this guy had broken his tibia in the last fight.
Mhm.
Okay. So he was coming up the staircase on the side, like kind of like hobbling up. And my security detail's like, look, man, we're really sorry. We just are trying to protect you, the media, whatever, blah, blah. He's like, sorry, I'm getting the key to the city. He goes, I would have rappelled into the building. I was like, okay. I didn't realize it was that important. But yeah, he came back and everything. I mean, it was amazing. He came with his family, the whole thing.
What does the key to the city equal?
It's a symbolic gesture. It's like.
Have you ever denied anybody a key?
Yeah.
Well, you have to.
So it's interesting. I actually hate it when people ask me for the key.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
I didn't ask.
No, because
Listen.
because it's something. It's something that it should come from like the heart, and it's one of my responsibilities, and so it's something that I want to be able to give because I want to do it, not because somebody wants it. Right? If that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes.
Do people
any sense.
actually ask for that a lot?
Oh yeah.
Well, I just want you to know, like,
That's crazy.
I love this city so much. I'm serious. I do.
I like that.
No, it's
You're
changed
gonna
my
get.
life, so.
You'll get it. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
So then what makes you want to give someone the key then?
You got to do a lot.
I think what it is.
What did McGregor do for Miami? Did he do like?
He was coming here. He wants to be a part of this ecosystem, and so I thought it was a nice way.
And it's McGregor, yeah.
What's that?
It's McGregor too.
It's McGregor.
Can't say no to him, really.
Fair.
By the way, of all the podcasts, in fairness to him, of all the podcasts that I had, I think that was the most watched.
Of course,
couple
McGregor's
million.
fucking huge.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And
we did Masvidal too.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of cool people, and it's I did the mayor of New York. I did both people on the conservative side, on the Republican side. We've done McCarthy. We did so we've done some cool people, man.
What's your relationship like with Governor DeSantis?
We don't have much of a relationship, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah. He's and I've said this before, we're just very different.
Wow.
In terms of
How so?
I'm a people person. I love to, sort of interact with people. I don't know that that's
I
his
heard him
style.
say he doesn't go to no cocktail parties or like anything like that. He doesn't socialize.
Yeah. So it's different personality types for sure.
Really? I would have thought you're the mayor of the biggest city.
Listen, I think
in
from
the
a policy
state.
perspective, we agree on some things or some things that we don't agree on. But yeah, we're just different. You know what I mean? I think, I'll give you an example. So the first time I met the former president, really the only time that I've actually interacted with him, I was at a wedding, and somebody was like really interested in us meeting. And so I met with him, and and they said, President Trump, this is the mayor of Miami. The mayor of Miami? He goes, you're the only politician in America hotter than I am. So it's that sort of like, you can like him or dislike him, but there's just a warmth, like
very charismatic.
Charisma, right?
Yeah.
And sort of like, that's more my personality, right? I think the governor would probably not react that way. He might shake my hand, might look at me in the eye, might not, you know what I mean? Like, that's sort of, he's just different. We're just different people.
Do you plan to continue to climb as far as political rank goes? Do you want to continue to?
I'll tell you, man. It's this has been a phenomenal experience for me. I'm in year 13. It's like dog years, because it's 5 years as mayor. I was elected by 86%, and I was reelected by close to 80%, and 8 years before that as council. So it's 13 years in public service. If I do something next, it's going to be something that I think is significant. Right. Like I'm also lucky because as a mayor, I'm able to have, most mayors in the Miami area can have a private sector life. Like I can work in the private sector. So I'm happy and I'm successful on that side. So I'd be giving up a huge amount to continue in politics. I've thought about it. There's a couple jobs that obviously I would consider doing. And there's a lot of jobs that I wouldn't want to do.
What are the jobs? Sure. Governor and president?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it?
That's it. And the wouldn't want to do is pretty much everything else. Look, there's, for example, if somebody became president and wanted me to run as their vice president, it'd be something I would obviously seriously consider. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to try to serve the country at that level. But other than those two things, there's just not much. I've done a lot. I'm very satisfied with what we've done here in Miami. I do think that our recipe for success is scalable nationally. And I do sometimes think about the possibility of running for president because, and I've talked about this publicly because I just think that we need something generational at this point. And we need someone with a track record of success and someone who can inspire people. And I think that is missing right now in politics. And no matter how you feel about, the current president, the former president, it's hard to argue that they fit that box, right? Without being disrespectful. You know.
Do you think Trump's going to win this year?
It's going to be. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, look, politics is hyper dynamic. It's one of the most, particularly presidential politics, one of the hardest things to predict. My dad, who's, like I told you, we talked a little bit about him. He has this concept called chaoplexity. And chaoplexity is chaotic environments are impossible to predict because of the number of inputs, right? And so when you're game theorying these things, it's just impossible. There's so many things that can happen. Everyone is trying to go after the former president, you know what I mean, now, and trying to take him down in ways that I think are probably not healthy for this country. And I've expressed that publicly because, you can dislike him, but to try to take him out of a political race through the judicial system, it's not what this country's about, right? And it's not what we should be spending judicial resources on, right? We should be focusing. If you don't like him, beat him at the ballot box, right? Present a different vision, an alternative vision that you think is better, more compelling, and that's the way it should be. That's the way elections should be decided in this country, not in the way that it seems like happens in third worlds, where like you lose the election and then the government comes after you. It's crazy, man. And by the way, it's a huge disincentive for people to run for office. I think one of the biggest issues is it's hard to have an incentive to run for office because you're getting criticized if you go to a Heat game. You know what I mean? You get, everyone thinks you're corrupt. Like that's like, there's no trust with politicians. I've done a lot of focus groups and talked to a lot of people, and they're just the level of confidence in public servants right now is at I think an all-time low. And it's hard to work in that environment. And then obviously you don't get paid a lot or anything like that. I take my money in crypto or whatever. But like it's not for the money. You don't do it for the money, right? You do it for the satisfaction. You do it for those moments like the one I had yesterday where the guy came up to me and was like, hey, thanks to your intervention, thanks to what you've helped create, it's impacted my life. And I just want you to know that. And that's what you do it for.
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you think's the most significant change you've made since you've been the mayor?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things I'm proud of. Some of the educational initiatives, like I funded a savings account for all kindergartners, and coupled that with financial literacy, which is something I'm super proud of. Some of our educational initiatives, we have a 2 scholarship fund. So if you're a Pell Grant recipient in Miami and you want to get a STEM degree, you go to school for free. If you're a Pell Grant recipient, you're first in your family to go to college, you go to school for free. By the way, I raised that money in the private sector, so it wasn't government funded. Wow. This was private sector funded. We did a charter school a tech charter school that you go to school for free with a community college, and you graduate with an associate's degree in a tech field, so you can go right into the workforce. So those are things I'm super proud of. But I think overall, I'm proud of where we've taken the city, from a city that was like a party city, from a city that was a retirement city, to a place where you could do serious business, where, the average tech job that's being created is over $100,000, where we're number 1 in wage growth, and all those statistics that we shared. I think they tell a story of a city that is going to position itself as the most important city. We're ranked by Financial Times the most important city in America.
I believe that. It's so interesting because like Miami's the most diverse city I've ever seen. It's the most unified.
We were literally ranked the most diverse city in America too.
But it seems so unified to me, at least. Like,
because we have a hustle mentality, right? Like we're a lot of us are immigrants.
Yeah. And
we think that we got to work. And I think we've always been ranked high in like entrepreneurship, but now we're getting scale, which is, you're getting investment. And I think when you combine that entrepreneurial spirit with investment, I mean, look what you guys have done. You guys started at 0, and like in a year, you guys are one of the most watched podcasts in America or in the world, potentially, right? Like that's just entrepreneurial spirit. That's grit. That's hard work. I'm sure there's a million people that told you guys are crazy. You shouldn't be doing this. It's not going to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now people are probably throwing opportunities at you, right? And that's just the way it works. It's you got to grind through it and have a profound belief that what you're doing matters, and what you're doing is meaningful, and what you're doing is going to work, and it's different, right? And I think if you have that, you can create a ton of success for yourself.
What's shifting the topics a little bit, but out of all your time as the mayor, what do you think you've had the most fun doing?
The most fun doing, I think when I do stuff with the public, and like I like the workout stuff, You know, we do a lot of stuff outside.
Big gym, bro.
It's fun. You know what I mean? For me, and like it's you know, I like to work out, so it dovetails with what I enjoy doing. But I also think there's a benefit, right? And I think again, like I'm working on some partnerships now to have a certain kind of training in our parks for kids, particularly underprivileged kids who maybe can't afford to go to a gym and spend $100 a month or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm really focused on that. And I just think when you look at the country, it's the most underappreciated thing, right? Nobody talks about it. And nobody talks about it in terms of the health benefits, but like the medical benefits, right? Again, and if you think about healthcare, it's a multi-trillion-dollar expense in the country, right? We have one of the largest public hospitals. It's a multi-$100 billion public hospital. I mean, again, nobody's talking about these things. So for me, doing things different, probably the most fun that I do is when I do things different.
Yeah,
right. The podcast, this, that, you know, what's great about the podcast is I'm sure you guys feel the same way. You guys would normally and ordinarily, because of your success, meet the most incredible people. What's different is now you're sharing that with the public, right? So that's what's cool. Because now they get a portal into how cool your life is. You're not just doing it. It
does give us a lot of opportunity to like meet with like sit down with cool people like you and just we've met so many people that it's a privilege opening to be able to do it.
You know what I mean? Is what's fun because like again, you know, you've seen we're here in the office. It's a beautiful office, right? Like the people that come here to meet and want to do stuff and want to come up with ideas is great. But the fact that I get to share with everybody, that makes it really fun.
Who's the craziest person that's been in this office?
Craziest?
Like cool, like. I don't know, cool.
Probably
like McGregor, like
McGregor.
Biggest celebrity.
I don't know. McGregor's pretty big in terms of.
We
had Ice Cube as like 30 million followers.
We're about to do him on the pod.
He just did. He's brought the Big Three here.
That's basketball. Here?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
He's bringing it here. Yeah, Big Three. So he had like 30 million followers. Mark Wahlberg, who I haven't had here yet, but I really admire him for his work.
He's a workhorse, right?
Like, he's a workhorse. Faith and exercise. That's a guy who I think posts almost daily exercise videos.
He's like a 4 a.m. guy.
Yeah,
it's a crazy.
230.
It's amazing.
You got to admit, like the PEDs in Miami are pretty high.
I don't know.
For gym bros.
Why are you so like? Why is it? You talked about this twice now. What's going on?
Have you ever worked out at Elevation?
You have to switch that up.
Oh, okay.
No. But there's an Anatomy close by that.
Anatomy's great.
Fire.
Yeah,
we go there.
Yeah, it's right next. Like there's one like literally outside here, just opened up.
What are the top 3 like best gyms in Miami?
Oh man,
this is a huge endorsement right now.
You're gonna get me in huge
this
trouble.
This is the courtside
not here yet.
Anatomy.
I hate it.
Train 89 is the gym that I went to before I got COVID, and they're a Coconut Grove gym. So shout out
them one for sure.
Shout out to them for sure, big time. And then there's something called 54D. 54D was invented by a South American soccer player, and it's a 54-day program. So that we just did a podcast with them not that long ago, and it's more of like a boot camp style. It's not so much heavy weights or anything like that. You know, so yeah. And then I got to give Ozzy Alfonso, who's my trainer from Optimum Performance, I got to give him a shout out too.
Fair, hell yeah.
Nice.
We do function. I'm 45, man, so I can't work out like I used to, like when I was 35 or 25. But I've been working out my whole life, and I love it. And I do some functional stuff. I do some HIIT stuff, you know, high intensity stuff, and then that's it. Just try not to get hurt.
What about top 3 clubs?
Dave's close.
Shout out Dave.
Shout out to Dave.
He's got Happy to our seltzer at all his clubs too. So
yeah,
we only pretty much go to his. I think
Live's Story, if I'm not mistaken.
Story closed.
Did it close?
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh,
did it close for sure?
That was the whole thing with Miami Beach that they shut down the town.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So what happened with that? Because if you're past a certain street, you can't.
Yeah.
Be open.
So in an effort to manage the spring break stuff, I think.
Okay.
They implemented a law that says you can only party until a certain period of time. So my view of it, having grown up, and I have my parents have an apartment on the beach, is they made a big mistake years ago. They actually used to have 30 clubs on the beach, and I think 5 a.m. was a closing time. And what happened is you'd have an infrastructure. So this idea of South Beach, you know, like when LeBron said, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach." I don't know if you guys remember that when he decided to come to Miami. When he said that, there was no South Beach. There was very little infrastructure at that point because they had been very anti-business and had shut down. This is government at its finest, you know, shut down almost every single nightclub. So what happens is people, instead of going into what happens when you go to a nightclub? They wand you. They make sure you don't have a weapon. And if you do something dumb, usually you have to deal with the bouncers, right? And then the bouncers take you out and then you get arrested, right? But there's like a mechanism to make sure that nothing really, really bad happens. When people are out in the street, there is no mechanism. So people have a gun, you bump into somebody, people shoot. Mm-hmm. And then we live in a world with these things. So then it's CNN, it's Fox. So then you go from, a local incident to a national incident like right away. And that hurts your brand. So I just think being anti-business years ago really hurt the beach now.
What's your take on like spring break here? Because it's so crazy every single year.
My take is it's not well managed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Number one. I think my take number two is people believe that South Beach is something that it's not anymore. Right? Like they're thinking, oh, we're going to come here and party. And then they get here and they're like, oh, where's the party? So everybody's just hanging out. And then that's a recipe for disaster, right? Like people, just running into each other and stuff. And over the years, it's been a recipe for disaster. Look what we do by contrast in Ultra, right? We have 150,000 people. It's a ton of people, right? But we do it in a very, very methodical.
You have venues for it.
Yeah. And we've learned, by the way, it hasn't always been
physical bad ever really happens there.
No.
What about a lot of mental health issues after Ultra, right? Weekend?
That's a different story.
I mean, I had to reconsider my whole life after 3 days at Ultra.
Yeah, me too. What about Rolling Loud?
So Rolling Loud, I think, is in Hard Rock, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's in a state.
Out of your jurisdiction?
Yeah, it's out of my jurisdiction. Yeah.
Have you ever attended Ultra?
I have. It's great.
In the crowd, or were you called out for being in the? You're in the VIP.
As mayor. No, I just call as mayor to just make sure that everything is on the up and up, and make sure that all our security protocols are being followed. Because at the end of the day, obviously it's a huge event in your city. You want to make sure that it goes off smoothly.
Would you say this is the most fun city to be the mayor of?
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
By far. I mean, look, I'll tell you this, and I don't know if I should say this, but what the hell? I can only serve 2 terms. So I just got reelected to my 2nd term. It'll be over in 2025. If God came down tomorrow and said, I will give you a choice to be mayor for a 3rd term or be president of the United States, I'd have to think about it.
Wow.
That's how awesome it is to do my job.
For sure.
Yeah, it's fun, man. This is a city. This is a city I grew up in. This is a city I was born in. Like, this is in my DNA. And I love it. And I enjoyed it. And walking my city, which you wouldn't get to do if you're the president, right? Just walk around, right? Like walking and people coming up to you and be like, hey man, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much, which I hear every single day. I have this concept of spiritual gas tank, and having a full spiritual gas tank. And that's the kind of stuff that fills your gas tank, makes you want to keep working hard and grind, I'm sure you guys, when you're out in the street, people are constantly, telling you guys how awesome it is. And that gives you energy.
Well,
yeah, that fuels you.
What's like your ultimate goal in life?
Well, my ultimate goal in life is to live a life I can be proud of, to live a life that is meaningful, to live a life of meaning, frankly. Yeah. That's my ultimate goal. Yeah. I mean,
like when your 2nd term is up, what do you do then?
Well, I might do something before then. You know what I mean? I might do something after them. I'm looking at a variety of different opportunities in politics. And then the other thing is, like, I think what happens is if it's not in politics, that's okay too. I think there's this notion that you have to just constantly be in politics, right? And it's sort of lifelong forever. And I've served, I've done a lot of great things in my opinion. And we'll see what God has in store for me next. It's I'm a spiritual person, and I believe that our goal in life is to unify ourselves to God's path for us.
Awesome. And I love it.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask too is like one person I feel like doesn't get a lot of credit for like what he's done in the city is like Purple Miami. But what do you think what do you think's like the best thing he's done for the city?
I think he definitely is underappreciated.
You think so?
Purple?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the best. Damn. He's a great guy.
Does he have a key to the city?
He doesn't. We should get him one.
After we get
based
ours?
on this, I think I will give him the
should get him one.
He hooks me up with a hookah every club I go to. So yeah, I love it.
In that case.
Yeah.
And then when
that makes it automatic, right?
Yeah.
No, Purple's a great guy. He works hard. He's, look, it's people like Purple, it's realtors. Realtors are people that are working hard, man. They're grinding, they make commission, but they go out. Did I hit you on a good one?
No, he loves Purple Miami. It's like,
Purple's great.
Big fan.
Purple's great.
He waits in line.
Who isn't?
He doesn't get walked in. He waits in line.
Oh, you wait?
Yeah.
Okay,
sometimes he gets us turned away.
But before we came in, Mayor Francis, Steiny said that you can't skip lines at restaurants, or like he was basically saying he has more sauce than you in Miami.
I absolutely would never say such a thing.
How did
Yeah, I thought you said that, but when he
It's all good.
did you say that when he went out?
You said if we went to live, we have more sauce than Mayor Francis.
I think he does for sure.
That's outrageous. That is outrageous. That was before the whole. That was before the whole key talk. So
I would never say that.
Yeah, that's right. We don't want to unwind this. We don't want to go backwards, right?
Need that straight up.
I love it. I love it.
No, this has been amazing though.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Seriously.
Yeah, this is awesome.
We love this city, and hopefully we'll move here soon. So
come back.
We're definitely. I mean, we're here all the time.
I know.
Yeah, we love being here.
We run into you guys all over the country, so it's all good.
Exactly. And let us know if you want us to do anything with your podcast. We're in, of course.
I love that. Yeah,
I'm gonna check that out. What's the name one more time?
It's Cafecito Tech Talk. Yeah,
okay. We'll put the link in the description. Check that out.
Appreciate
Let
it.
us know if you guys want us to do the mayor's podcast. We're more than happy.
I hope they say yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
All right, man.
Thanks,
thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man.
This is awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Really good episode.
Come on, let's get it.
Oh, wait. Can I take it?
You can hold it. Yeah, go for it.
Key to the city of Miami. I got you guys anytime you want to get in.
Yeah, no,
Let me tell you something.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
This is sauce. All right, it's gonna be a weekend.
We're gonna give you a range.
Oh my god.
Thank
I'm putting this on a best day of my life. I'm serious, man.
Feel better now?
Yeah, I feel amazing, bro.
So you so like every city you've gone to, you haven't gotten one? Like,
No.
come on.
Well, we're definitely moving to Miami now.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about. I know that's gonna
Hanging
work.
right here, I swear.
You're gonna put it on a chain?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, guys.
You guys.
This is great.
All right, brother.
We'll see you around.
All right,
Yeah.
see you.
Thank you, bro.
That's the city, dude. That's it.
Boys are feeding tonight, eh? Holy shit.